A single mom texted a billionaire for baby formula money. The shocking truth will haunt you. In the small town of Maplewood, where every window had a story, a single mother named Sarah made a desperate decision. It was a rainy Tuesday when her worn-out fingers hesitated over her cracked smartphone screen. The glow illuminated her tear-streaked cheeks. "Please, just a little help," she texted, not to a friend or a family member, but to a billionaire she'd only seen on TV. And this wasn't some random rich guy. This was David Harrington, the tech mogul who had the whole country buzzing. How had it come to this? The weight of her decision hung thick, choking her with fear. She had just days before the eviction notice would become reality, and her baby depended on her to find a way to survive. But Sarah didn't expect to hit the send button with that request for baby formula money. The stakes couldn't be higher. The silence that followed felt like an abyss, one she might tumble into forever. Her phone buzzed. Was it a response? Every heartbeat thundered in her ears as she opened David's reply. Just a simple "I've got you" sent chills down her spine. But what did that really mean? Meanwhile, whispers began to swirl around the coffee shop where Sarah worked. Customers gossiped about how a single mom can message a billionaire. Eyes widened, some even gasped. "What could she possibly want?" murmured one elderly lady, her hand fluttering to her throat. The local barista, Jake, shrugged. "Maybe she thinks he cares?" Crazy, right? But deep down, everyone felt a twinge of hope mingled with disbelief, but the clock ticked on, and with it, a growing sense of dread. Had she opened a door she would soon regret? As Sarah wondered about that, a sudden crash shattered the fragile atmosphere in the cafe. Sudden, brutal silence fell. A dark figure loomed in the doorway. The people gasped. Who was this? Why did they look so familiar? Was this figure somehow linked to David? The urgency in the moment wrapped around Sarah like a noose, tightening with each breath. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." As the figure stepped closer, the low murmur of the crowd changed to frantic whispers. Could it be him? Sarah felt a cold sweat trickle down her back as she locked eyes with the stranger. Each second felt like an eternity. Surely, this wasn't just about baby formula anymore. No, something larger, something more sinister was at play. What if David Harrington wasn't who everyone thought he was? What if this simple text turned her life upside down in ways she couldn't even imagine? The questions loomed in the air like thick fog, waiting for answers that might never come. The stranger stepped forward, each movement sending shockwaves through the room. Dark clothing wrapped around their tall frame, but it was the face beneath the hood that ignited a collective gasp. Sarah's heart seized. It couldn't be, could it? The familiar features she once admired on television twisted in a menacing grin. It was Greg, David's estranged brother, who had appeared on recent news reports shrouded in scandal. He had been missing for months, rumored to be involved in underground deals that made even the most hardened criminals shudder. "Sarah," he said, his voice smooth like ice, "it's been a while." The crowd shuffled nervously, eyes darting between Greg and Sarah, their whispers rising like a tempest. She could feel the weight of their stares, the judgment swirling around her, clutching her throat like a hand around a neck. "What do you want?" Sarah managed to rasp out, her pulse quickening. The memory of her previous text to David flickered in her mind like a faulty light bulb. Did Greg come here to deliver a message from his brother or something even darker? "Don't be so tense," he said, taking another step closer. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you." A flicker of warmth tried to break through Sarah's instinct to flee. But then she remembered why she'd reached out to David in the first place, the life she had to protect. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I heard about your little text campaign," he replied, an arrogant smirk plastered across his face. "David's busy with his empire, but family sticks together, right? I can offer you something he can't." Her heart raced. What was he proposing? Could she trust him? The room felt suffocating, and the faces of the onlookers blurred. She thought of her baby's safety, her need for money, her desperation. What other choice did she have? But then she caught a glimpse of something flickering in Greg's eyes. Was it genuine concern or something darker, more twisted? Suddenly, a voice from the back of the cafe pierced through the tension. "Get away from her." It was Jake, her coworker, who stepped forward, fists clenched and jaw set. The tension in the room thickened, a standoff brewed as Jake stood his ground. "Stay out of this, kid," Greg chuckled, unfazed, his eyes still locked on Sarah. She felt paralyzed between two dangerous sides, caught in a trap she hadn't anticipated. "What do you want from me?" Sarah finally demanded, her voice trembling but fierce. "If you think I'm going to play your game, you're mistaken." The smirk faltered, momentarily, and Greg leaned in, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial hush. "What if I told you I've got a way to turn your life around? A real opportunity, but it comes with risks. Are you willing to take them?" Sarah's heart thundered, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She was skirting dangerously close to a precipice, and she could either leap into darkness or cling to the faint hope of a better future. "You don't know what you're messing with," Jake advised, his voice steady, a lifeline in a pool of uncertainty. A choice loomed ahead, one that would alter not just her life but the life of her child. The room hung in silence, tension crackling like electricity in the air. "Think it over," Greg said, stepping away. "I'll be in touch." With that, he turned and walked out, leaving behind a swarm of unanswered questions and an air thick with dread. As the crowd slowly regained their composure, Sarah felt a knot tightening in her gut. Was this the beginning of salvation or her descent into hell? She glanced at Jake, searching for reassurance, but uncertainty clouded their expressions. What did Greg mean by a real opportunity? And more importantly, was it worth the risk? A million questions raced through her mind, and she knew she had to make a choice soon. But the clock was ticking, and each tick felt like the countdown to an unseen danger. What awaited her next, she couldn't tell, but one thing was certain, the truth would unravel faster than she ever imagined, and there was no turning back now. The cafe buzzed back to life slowly. The chatter returned, but it felt muted, like the whole world was still trying to process the unsettling encounter. Sarah sat at her table, drowning in a sea of uncertainty. She felt Jake hovering next to her, his presence a comforting weight, yet the loud whispers around them still sliced through her thoughts. What did he mean by an opportunity? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His brow furrowed, concern etched across his face. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, her hands trembling, clutching her phone tightly as if it was a lifeboat in a storm. "But he seemed serious." Too serious. She peered towards the door where Greg had just exited. The cold sense of dread wrapped around her like a thick fog. What kind of help was her ex-boyfriend's estranged brother offering? Was this a twisted game of manipulation or the lifeline she so desperately needed? "Let us get out of here," Jake urged. "You don't have to deal with this alone." Ignoring him, Sarah pulled up her texts, scrolling through the messages she'd sent to David. Canceling the conversation so abruptly felt like abandoning hope. What choice did she truly have? Her baby needed formula. Her bank account was a dark pit of numbers that made her stomach churn. "Sarah, can you just give me a minute?" she snapped, her voice shaky. Jake backed off, but she could sense his worry lingering in the air. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to focus. The last thing she wanted was for Greg to have any hold over her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, jolting her out of her thoughts. The message indicator flashed, sending a wave of panic through her. It was from an unknown number. Her heart pounded as she opened it, every instinct screaming that whatever was contained within could change everything. "Sarah, it's Greg. I hope you've had some time to think." Meet me tomorrow at the same cafe. 10 a.m. I'll explain everything. She felt her breath hitch, an icy chill seeping into her bones. He had her trapped. Now he was making demands, taking her choices away. The looming threat of whatever he intended hung like a storm cloud ready to burst open. Who is it? Jake pressed. Did he text again? It's Greg, she said, her voice barely a whisper. What the hell does he want now? Jake shot back, anger flaring in his voice. We need to involve the cops, or at least tell David. No. She insisted. I can handle this. If I tell anyone, they'll think I'm weak. I can't let him see me like that. But you're not weak. Jake exclaimed, almost pleading. You're just being smart. This is dangerous territory. Just give me a chance, she said, her own desperation surfacing. I need to figure out what he wants. If there's a chance to sort this out for my baby, her voice trailed off, the words heavier than she intended. A fleeting moment of silence enveloped them as the tension grew. Jake ran a hand through his hair, eyes wide. Okay, but please be careful. Promise you'll call me if you need help. I promise, she said, though doubt gnawed at her that she could keep her word. As the afternoon light faded outside the cafe, the atmosphere felt ominous. Sarah's thoughts whirled, a blurring montage of fear and uncertainty playing over and over in her mind. She could no longer ignore the gaping hole that Greg had left in her reality. She gazed out at the street, watching shadows stretch in the dusk. What kind of risks was she willing to take? She'd already been pushed to the edge. What if Greg was her only way back? The cafe door swung open and closed with a whoosh, and for a moment, Sarah thought it was him again. But it wasn't he. Just more people, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in her life. Tomorrow would bring decisions, pathways she never expected to tread. But faced with a choice between safety and desperation, the line became fuzzy. As night fell and the world around her gleamed with artificial lights, one question loomed larger than the rest. Was she ready to take a risk that might change everything, or would stepping into Greg's game seal her fate? And would she even have the chance to step back if she dove in? The morning sun dripped through the curtains, casting a warm, false sense of comfort over Sarah's cramped apartment. She squinted at her phone, the message from Greg replaying in her mind. Meet me tomorrow at the same cafe. 10 a.m. A knot tightened in her stomach. Every hour that passed felt like an eternity, an anchor pulling her deeper into uncertainty. She rubbed her tired eyes, knowing she couldn't afford to waste time. With a baby in her arms and bills piling up, she needed answers and fast. The thought of facing Greg again twisted her insides, tightening her grip on the baby, whose soft coos reminded her of the innocence she was fighting for. At 9:30, she grabbed her purse, heart racing. Jake had offered to come with her, but she pushed him away. This was her battle, her fight alone. I can handle it, she said, though her voice had trembled. The cafe was buzzing with morning energy, but Sarah felt like an outsider in a world of normalcy. She took a deep breath as she stepped inside, scanning the room for any sign of Greg. Each face seemed like a mask hiding something dangerous. Then she saw him, slouched in a corner booth, his demeanor calm but his eyes sharp like a hawk's. She walked over, each step echoing in her head. Fear and anger collided with each heartbeat. Is this really what it's come to? Meeting my ex-boyfriend's brother, the dark shadow of my past? Sarah, Greg said, his tone disarmingly friendly. Thanks for coming. Cut to the chase, Greg. What do you want? Her voice held a firmness she didn't quite feel. That he leaned forward, his smile fading into something serious. I need you to listen. You're in a corner, and I can help. But you need to trust me. Trust you? She laughed, a nervous sound that didn't reach her eyes. You don't get to just walk back in and expect trust after everything. He raised a hand, as if to calm an impending storm. I know you're angry. But you're not the only one suffering. You think I wanted to come back here? I have my own reasons. Spare me the sob story. Let us talk about the opportunity you mentioned. He glanced around, making sure no one was eavesdropping. I can offer you a job. A way to make ends meet, get out of the hole you're in. But it requires work, and not everyone will approve of the arrangement. The words hung in the air, thick with implication. Job? What kind of job could a billionaire's brother offer a single mom? The anxiety flared in her chest. What kind of work? Just let us say it's not exactly normal. And it pays well. His eyes sparkled with a dangerous allure. I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't think it could be your salvation. Her instincts screamed at her to walk away. Yet, the image of her baby, eyes wide and trusting, kept her there, glued to the spot. And what is the catch? No catch. Just a simple, if unconventional, task. You'll think it's worth your while. He seemed to chew over his words, possibly for effect. And you'll have the chance to break free from everything that holds you back. Sarah's pulse quickened. Each word felt like a stone dropping into her stomach. So many unknowns lay ahead, but the weight of an empty fridge and overdue bills loomed larger. Why would you help me? She asked, her voice steady despite the storm within. A flicker of something in his eyes. Was that genuine concern or a predator's gaze? Because I know what it feels like to be desperate. Desperate. The word rolled off his tongue like satin, smoothing over the jagged wounds of her reality. She could almost envision the life he painted with his promises. But at what cost? Involve me in your game, and I'll have to play by your rules, she said, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. Greg leaned back, a smirk creeping onto his face. You're smarter than I thought. Just then, the cafe door swung open, and a rush of cold air followed a stranger inside, dark and shrouded in mystery. Instinctively, Sarah's heart raced at the sight, her mind immediately assuming the worst. The newcomer scanned the room with predatory intent, fixing on her for a heartbeat too long. The tension tightened around Sarah like a noose. Was this meeting merely about survival, or had she unwittingly walked into a web spun by someone she had underestimated? Time to decide, Sarah. Greg's voice broke her reverie. You can turn back now, or step into the unknown. Her mind churned with thoughts of her baby, the looming financial disaster, and the envelope of choices before her. But the crowding unease made her skin crawl. Whatever you choose, just remember this, it might not be just your life at stake. With those words hanging ominously in the air, the weight of her decision gripped her. The stranger shifted, moving toward their table. Was this a coincidence, or were they all part of a larger plan? As Sarah's breath caught in her throat, she could only wonder if stepping forward meant sealing her fate or if she was about to uncover a truth that would rip her world apart. Sarah's heart raced, each thud echoing with a primal fear. The stranger was coming toward them. Dark sunglasses hid his eyes, but the sharp angles of his jaw and the way he moved like a coiled spring spoke volumes. There was purpose in his stride, and it sent a chill up her spine. Who is that? She whispered, her voice barely a breath. Stay calm, Greg replied, a practiced veil of reassurance draping his words. He's just someone I know. I don't like this. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Fear clawed at her throat, making it hard to breathe. The baby's soft cooing from the carrier nearby felt like a lifetime away, a reminder of her responsibilities amidst the chaos swelling around her. Trust me, Sarah, Greg said, his voice now lower, almost harsh. He's not here for you, not yet. But Sarah could feel the heavy weight of his gaze, the stranger's presence looming over their table like a storm cloud ready to burst. Hi, Greg, the newcomer said, sliding into the booth across from them. The casual tone hung in the air like a warning shot, sharp and unsettling. I didn't expect to see you here, especially not with company. Just discussing business, Greg replied, a hint of defensiveness creeping into his voice. The man's lips twisted into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Business can get complicated, can't it? His stare shifted to Sarah, and her insides twisted at the scrutiny. This was a man who had seen too much, a man who understood the dark corners of the world she desperately wanted to avoid. Who are you? Sarah asked, summoning a courage she didn't feel. Her voice trembled slightly, but she forced the words out, needing to assert control in a situation spiraling beyond her grasp. "Let's just say I'm a friend of Greg's," he replied smoothly. "And a friend of yours if you decide to play the right game." Sarah's eyes darted to Greg. What game? The weight of unsaid truths hung thick in the air, plotting schemes she couldn't begin to fathom. "You mentioned an opportunity before," Greg pressed, shifting uncomfortably as if the presence of the stranger had changed the dynamics. "This could lead to better things for you." "Better things?" Sarah echoed, a bitter edge creeping into her voice. "Or worse?" The man chuckled softly, leaning back against the booth. "Life is all about risks, my dear." His voice was smooth, like silk masking a blade. "The only question is whether the reward outweighs the danger." Sarah's mind raced. This was no normal cafe meeting. This was a transaction she had never anticipated, a choice woven in shadows. "What kind of risk are we talking about?" The man's gaze shifted, boredom creeping into his expression as if she were asking the wrong questions. "Let's not play coy. You're a single mother with needs, and we can provide you with a solution for a price." She recoiled at the implication, a sharp sense of betrayal slicing through her. "What kind of solution?" "Easy now," said Greg, a warning tone in his voice. "Don't act rashly." The tension in the booth intensified. The barista clattered a cup on the counter, the sound echoing eerily in the charged silence. Sarah felt the walls close in. "Tell me what I have to do," she whispered, and her heart sank at her own resignation. The stranger leaned forward, a determined glint flashing in his eyes. "Meet my terms, and your life could change overnight." But if you refuse, he let the threat linger, an electric charge that buzzed in the air. "Is that how this works?" Sarah shot back, and for just a moment, defiance sparked inside her. "You think you can just waltz in here and offer me this deal? I'm not a pawn on your board." The man chuckled, his amusement condescending. "Oh, but you already are, Sarah. You just haven't realized it yet." With that, he stood up, adjusting his jacket as if this was just another day. "I'll be in touch," he said, tossing a careless glance at Greg before leaving the cafe. The door swung shut behind him, and the sudden silence that followed was deafening. "What just happened?" Sarah demanded, her voice shaking with a mix of anger and fear. Greg ran a hand through his hair, agitation flaring in his demeanor. "You have to trust me. If you want out of this mess, that man can help you, but he won't do it for free." Her mind swirled with confusion and dread. Could she trust Greg, even after everything? "I'll do it," she said, each word spoken like a vow. "I don't have a choice." As Greg studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle, Sarah felt the stakes climb higher. Was this the beginning of a way out or the descent into a darkness she didn't understand? Neither of them noticed the stranger standing outside the cafe windows, watching her with a cold, calculating gaze. Unbeknownst to her, this was far from over. The real game was just beginning, and she was about to uncover secrets that could shatter everything. What horrors lurked just beneath the surface, waiting for her to unravel the terrifying truth? Sarah's breath felt shallow in her chest as she processed the words that lingered like a ghost in the now quiet cafe. The weight of the stranger's promise hung heavy in the air, suffocating her with its implications. What had she just signed up for? Her heart hammered against her ribs, drowning out the muted hum of conversation from other patrons. Greg's gaze was piercing, almost desperate now. "You don't understand, Sarah. This is serious. You need resources. He can provide them. But at what cost?" She shot back, anger flaring. "What kind of resources does a man like that offer? I'm not trading my dignity for a paycheck." "Not just a paycheck," he insisted, leaning in closer. "We're talking a future. A better life for you and stop." The command escaped her lips sharply, slicing through his words. The baby's gentle cooing from the carrier brought her back from the edge of panic. She swiveled her head, glancing at the little one's peaceful face. "I can't endanger her." Greg's demeanor shifted, revealing a layer of concern buried under his bravado. I promise you, this isn't about danger. It's about survival. And yet, Sarah sensed that the line between survival and surrender was beginning to blur. Her mind flickered to the stranger, the way he spoke, the way he looked at her. The cafe door swung wide, causing her to jump. In walked a wiry man wearing an oversized hoodie, his eyes darting around the room before landing on their booth. The atmosphere shifted like a candle snuffed out, and the barista froze mid-movement. There was something unsettling about him, his nervous energy was palpable. Excuse me, miss. He approached with hesitant steps, his hands shoved deeply into his pockets. I need to speak with you. What? Why? She responded, a mix of suspicion and curiosity curling in her stomach. Greg, suddenly rigid, leaned forward, his expression darkening. Get lost. The man's eyes darted back and forth between them, his uncertainty morphing into urgency. It's important. You need to know about him, he said, nodding towards the door through which the stranger had exited. What are you talking about? Sarah's heart raced anew, the flicker of panic igniting. Who are you? Just listen. He's not what he seems. He's dangerous. There's a reason he's interested in you. The man's voice dropped to a near whisper. People like him don't help for free, and trust me, it's a debt you don't want to owe. Greg shot her a wary glance. Sarah, don't listen to him. He's just trying to scare you. Scare me? She said, incredulous. Or warn me? Her instincts prickled as she observed the man's expression, a mix of fear and desperation that resonated painfully in her core. Just think about it, he urged, stepping slightly closer. There are things going down you don't understand. You're in over your head. Why would you care? Greg fired back, his voice rising. What do you want? I'm trying to save her, the man replied, passion igniting in his eyes. You think you're protecting her, but it's the opposite. Once you're in his world, it becomes a game of survival. You can't trust anyone. Confusion twisted in Sarah's gut. She was clinging to the remnants of her world, her daughter, her dream of a safe home. What do I do then? Just keep your eyes open. Don't take the deal unless you understand what you're getting into. With that, he turned and dashed out, leaving Sarah staring after him, doubt festering inside her. Great, another random weirdo to be concerned about, Greg scoffed, but his voice was strained. You have to stop letting these distractions push you off course. I'm not sure I can trust you, either, Sarah admitted, her resolve faltering. The weight of the moment settled on her shoulders like a thick fog. What if he's right? What if he knows something I don't? Greg's expression darkened. You can't let your fear control you, Sarah. You need to make a decision before it's too late. Outside, the distant sirens wailed as though heralding an approaching storm. The atmosphere thickened with urgency, an unspoken warning wrapping around her heart. Choices loomed before her, dark and tangled, and she was standing at the threshold. Would she risk everything for a glimmer of hope? As the shadows deepened in the cafe, Sarah's eyes darted toward the door, and she felt an unshakable sense of dread settling in her bones. The walls were closing in, and the real danger was beginning to surface. What hidden truths remained, waiting to strike? The cafe's murmur faded into a tense silence, and Sarah's heart raced like a trapped bird. She forced her gaze away from the door, aware that Greg's eyes seared into her. The weight of his expectation was unbearable, and the air felt thick, charged with unspoken fears. Just think, he said, leaning back, arms crossed defensively. That guy is a distraction, Sarah. Don't you see? You have to focus on what's real. What's real is that I have a baby to protect and no money for the bills. Her voice trembled, the corners of her mind jumbling the urgent lines between survival and desperation. Then this is your chance. Greg's voice rose, frustration spilling over. I can't believe you're hesitating. You've always wanted more than this life. This could open doors for you, for your daughter. A flicker of ambition wrestled with the instinct to protect. Her dreams had been so distant, like dust motes in a sunbeam. But now, as reality pressed in, the allure of that promised more felt tainted. A chill danced up her spine as memories played back the look in the stranger's eye, the scent of danger that wafted with his words. "I don't want danger." She spat back, her heart pounding. "What if he's not something I can handle?" "Then don't handle him alone," Greg fired back, his tone a mix of anger and something that almost resembled fright. "I'll be with you. We can figure this out together." Something shifted in Sarah's gut. Was his eagerness a subtle push, or did he genuinely hope to help? When she looked back at him, the confidence he usually wore was replaced with shadows. Unease curled around her heart as she considered the possibility that he had something to gain too. Suddenly, the cafe door opened again, and the wiry man was back. His eyes were wild, darting between them like a trapped animal. "Please, Sarah," he gasped, urgency wrapping around his every word. "You need to leave this place now. He's already tracking you." "What? Who?" she asked, confusion flooding her. He stepped closer, leaning in despite Greg's deadpan glare. "The man you spoke to. The one who promised you resources. He's dangerous. You have to go before what?" Sarah whispered, a lump forming in her throat. The barista looked over, her eyes wide, but the moment quickly shattered when the distant sound of an engine roared to life outside. It was a sound charged with intent, a growl slicing through the cafe's feeble calm. "Trust me, Sarah," the man urged, his voice tightening with fear. "You must get out. Connect with someone who can help you. Not him." "Why?" Greg snapped, his irritation flaring at the man's interruption. "Who are you, and why should she listen to you?" "Because I know what he does." He shot back, narrowing his gaze on Sarah as if he could somehow force her to see the truth. "He ruins lives. He doesn't give help, he exacts payment in ways that will haunt you. You don't want to owe him anything." A siren wailed outside, growing closer, and Sarah's heart lurched. The implications settled heavily upon her, each pounding beat echoing the choice before her. "She's got a kid," Greg insisted, but the urgency was now back in his voice too. "This is nonsense. You're just feeding fear into her head." But it wasn't nonsense. The stranger's promise loomed like a storm cloud over her head, drenching her conscience in doubt. "Leave with me," the man urged one last time, desperation woven through every word. "We can figure this out. Don't let fear trap you here." With each pounding heartbeat, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, the foundations of her world trembling. Could she trust him? Or was she stepping deeper into a trap? As the cafe erupted into chaos, patrons looking around bewildered, all Sarah could see was the door the way it beckoned with the promise of a twisted road ahead. Would she have the strength to step through it? In that instant, the choice hung heavy, threatening to tilt her world once more. What awaited beyond that threshold? Before she could respond, the door swung open, and a sharp figure stepped inside, their eyes fixed directly on her with a chilling intensity, as if they already knew her name. Who had just walked in, and how had they found her? The figure that stepped through the door was tall, dressed in a shadowy coat that merged inconspicuously with the darkened cafe. As he moved, the air seemed to change, thickening with a suffocating tension. His eyes, piercing and filled with an unsettling familiarity, locked onto Sarah. It was as if she were being pulled under a heavy wave, unable to breathe, caught between the weight of decisions and the pounding chaos around her. "Sarah," the newcomer said, his voice smooth yet commanding, resonating through the clamor of the cafe. She shivered, recognizing the cool authority in his tone. The wiry man stiffened beside her, the shock reminiscent of a creature cornered by a predator. "Stay away from her," he shouted, taking a step between Sarah and the stranger. "Is that really the best you can do?" The man replied, glancing down at the wiry figure dismissively before returning his focus to Sarah. "You know I can help you, don't you?" A frisson of undeniable dread coursed through her. This was the man who had made her the offer she had contemplated, the one that promised salvation but whispered of darkness. Help? His name dangled on her tongue, but the fear strangled her. You don't understand. I have a kid. The man's gaze softened, just for a moment. That's exactly why you should trust me. I only want to protect you both. Protect? Greg's incredulous laugh echoed, shattering the fragile silence between them. You think she can trust you? You're the one who brings danger. He was right, but something in Sarah's heart battled against the creeping doubt. The siren blared outside, sharp and urgent, amplifying the tension that hung in the air like smoke. She needed to choose between familiarity and the unknown, between remaining shackled by her current life or stepping towards something that felt just as dangerous. Why should I believe you? She asked, her voice tinged with desperation. You're a stranger. I'm the key to keeping you away from the real danger, he answered, stepping forward defiantly, his intensity unwavering. The man who offered you help isn't what he seems. He'll leave you shattered, I promise you. I've seen it happen. Maybe it's you who's the real threat. Greg's voice trembled with an anxious edge. Look at you who comes into a cafe and starts talking about ruining lives. What's your game? Enough. Sarah snapped, her voice rising above the turmoil of their fates. I don't want to hear any more half-truths and double-speak. I just want to protect my daughter. The cafe buzzed with whispered conversations, patrons stealing glances, sensing the coil of anxiety and fear coiling tighter around the trio. What's it to you? She directed toward the taller man, desperate sincerity spilling from her. What could you possibly want from me? What strings are attached? He hesitated, tension swirling in a heartbeat. Nothing but to keep you safe. But you must decide quickly. Outside, the engine roar intensified. It was heavy with purpose, approaching, eager to engulf her whole. With one choice she could embrace a new future, with another, she might plunge deeper into the shadows. Sarah, Greg whispered, stepping closer, fear shimmering in his eyes. You're making a mistake. Before she could respond, the barista screamed. The front window shattered with a violent crack, glass raining like confetti, followed by the shouts of panic and the heady smell of gasoline overwhelming the already tense air. Go. Now. Urged the wiry stranger, his voice laced with urgency as he shoved her toward the back door, away from the chaos. The room spun, confusion and adrenaline fueling her as she glanced back at Greg, his expression a mix of horror and disbelief. That moment, standing teetering on the edge of one choice or another, pressing against the weight of impending doom, felt like a looming deadline, a cliffhanger. What awaited her non-choices? What price would she have to pay for safety? Breath hitching in her throat, Sarah bolted toward the door as shadows closed in behind her, desperate not to look back, not sure what she was running from or running toward. Could she escape this descent into darkness, or was she diving headlong into it? And who would ultimately pay for her choice? As Sarah raced through the back door into the dimly lit alley, the chaos of the cafe echoed behind her, a cacophony of shattering glass and panicked screams. Adrenaline surged through her veins, propelling her forward, her heart exploding with fear and uncertainty. What had she just left behind? The stranger followed close behind, his presence a dark shadow that loomed over her. Keep moving. We have to get out of here. His voice sliced through the night like a knife. Who are you? She gasped, her breath coming in ragged bursts. The narrow alleyway was littered with debris, abandoned crates and trash cans casting ominous shapes under the flickering light. Shadows danced menacingly around them, heightening her sense of dread. Not now, he replied, keeping his eyes glued to the end of the alley as if danger were lurking just around the corner. Trust me, I'll explain everything later. We need to get you somewhere safe. The sound of screeching tires fractured the night air as a vehicle skidded to a halt not far from them. Sarah's stomach twisted with instinctive fear. If the explosion had drawn attention, it wouldn't take long for someone to realize she was gone. A small sob escaped her lips as memories of her daughter flooded back. Lucy. What was she doing right now? Was she safe at home, tucked in her bed? The thought sent a fresh wave of panic through her. Focus. The stranger snapped, pulling her back to the present. We can't stay here. Without thinking, she grabbed his arm hard. You don't understand. I can't leave my daughter. There's no time. They'll come looking for you. His grip tightened around her wrist, urgency radiating from him. You said you wanted to protect her. This is your only chance. She hesitated. Was she really willing to gamble everything on the word of a man she barely knew? But the image of Lucy's innocent face brought clarity. Okay, just get me to her. Please. They dashed deeper into the alley, an oppressive weight of impending doom pressing on her chest. Each step felt like running on a tightrope, fear making her heart race. She'd never been one for risks. Was it too late to turn back? As they emerged on the other side, the city lights greeted them, a glittering expanse of urban life that felt starkly alien. The bustling streets, dotted with taxis and late-night revelers, offered both an exhilarating freedom and a frightening exposure. Your car's this way, he said, tugging her toward a narrow side street filled with parked vehicles. She stole a glance at his face, noticing the tautness in his jaw, the intensity of his focus. He was on edge, and that made her uneasy. I'm not going anywhere with you unless you tell me who you are. He paused, breathing hard, exasperated. Fine. The name's Alex. I was sent here to locate you, to bring you to safety. I promise you, there's a lot more at play here than you know. What did you mean by the man who offered you help? Who's chasing me? Before he could answer, the screeching of tires echoed again, this time closer. Shadows coalesced at the mouth of the alley, monstrous figures emerging against the bright streetlights. Get in! Alex shouted, throwing open the passenger door of a sleek black car that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Now! Panic seized Sarah as she realized the danger was very real. She leaped into the car, her heart pounding against her ribs. Alex slid in beside her, eyes darting, as he slammed the door shut. The engine roared to life, smashing through the night as they sped away just as a trio of men rushed into the street, their faces dark and determined. What had she gotten herself into? With her heart racing and her mind spinning, Sarah stole a glance at Alex. His expression was inscrutable, a mixture of determination and urgency. Tell me everything, she demanded, her voice steadying despite the storm brewing inside her. And don't hold back. He turned to her, the shadows of the night obscuring some of his features, but the truth hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Sarah, you're in deeper than you realize. It's not just about you. Anymore, and just like that, the world tilted. What had she stepped into? What price would she have to pay for answers? As they hurtled into the unknown, Sarah's mind raced with questions, a storm brewing in her heart. What would be the cost of uncovering the truth? With the roar of the engine and the world blurring past, Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions collide within her. Fear, confusion, and a flicker of hope tangled in her chest like a tight knot. She had just plunged into the darkness first, the text to a billionaire, and now this frantic escape from the shadows that seemed to haunt her. Sarah, Alex's voice cut through the chaos. You need to listen. The people after you don't just want to silence you, there's a greater game at play. It's about your daughter, too. What do you mean? She gasped, panic clawing at her insides like an animal desperate to break free. What's happening? He looked at her, steely determination in his gaze. You unknowingly became part of a plan. When you texted David, it caught the attention of his brother, Greg. He's involved in something much larger than you realize, and that man you met him today, the one who made promises, he's part of a network that thrives on manipulation. They leverage desperate people like us. Memories of Greg's smirk and the stranger's confident menacing glance flooded her with dread. But I just wanted help for my baby. I know it's overwhelming, Alex said, urgency sharp in his tone. But they will exploit that desperation. The danger escalates with each moment you stay in the dark. Cold realization sank into her bones. What do I have to do? First, we need to get away. Then we figure out our next step. Trust me, Sarah. You can't go back. As they sped away from the cafe, echoes of shattered glass faded into the distance, but shadows loomed larger in Sarah's heart. To act on trust when she had experienced betrayal was daunting. Bringing Lucy into this world of terror felt like stepping into a quicksand pit, deeper than she ever imagined. Once they were several blocks away, Alex steered the car into a secluded parking lot, shrouded in darkness. "We need to lay low for now," he said, turning off the engine. "You can't go home, they'll try to use that against you. I've got a safe house to take you to, but you must promise to stick to the plan. No more texting or reaching out to anyone." "Okay," she nodded, although doubt festered in her chest. Her baby needed her, and yet she was diving into the unknown. They climbed out of the car, just as a flicker of headlights approached from the street. Voices echoed in the distance, drawing closer. "We can't stay here." Sarah's heart raced anew, aware that the danger was still very much alive. Without a second thought, Alex took her hand, and they began to run, breathless and destitute, but alive with a surge of adrenaline. Fear propelled her faster. The sounds of their pursuers faded behind them as they ducked into another alley. But the fear of losing Lucy weighed on her, gnawing at her resolve. "I need to see my daughter. How can I protect her from all of this?" "They know who you are now, Sarah," Alex replied, concern showing in the creases of his brow. "She's safer without you being exposed. If Greg or that man tracking you find you, she's in danger. You have to trust that this is the best way to protect her." The sorrow in his eyes mirrored her pain, and for a moment, they stood suspended in a world where despair threatened to engulf them. But Sarah realized then, her fight wasn't just for herself, it was for Lucy. The fire ignited with determination. "We're going to fix this," she said, voice steady and strong. "Somehow, we will find a way to protect her, to break the grip they have on us." Alex nodded, resolve mirrored in his eyes. "Together, we will expose what's happening. Just promise me you'll stay focused and not lose hope. You're stronger than you think." As he led her towards an escape route, adrenaline pulsing, a new sense of purpose throbbed in her veins. They were bound to stumble through hidden paths, but she'd fight past the shadows of her past to create a future for her daughter. Beyond the chaos of her turbulent reality lay challenges she'd never faced, darkness crawling before her that she'd have to confront. The decisions ahead felt daunting, but one thing remained clear: she'd uncover the truth. She'd forge a path to safety for her child, no matter the cost, and in that shared moment of silent determination, as shadows danced behind them, Sarah felt hope bloom anew. But just as she began to believe in that future, a commotion erupted at the alley entrance. The voices neared again, marching with intent. "There's nowhere to run." A familiar voice boomed, Greg's voice. "We know you're in there." Panic washed over her, cold and clear. This fight was far from over, and their journey into darkness had only just begun. Yet deep inside, Sarah steeled herself. She wouldn't run anymore. The truth would come out, and she would reclaim her life. "You're damn right, Greg," she whispered. "There is nowhere left to run for you." This was her moment. Now that you've witnessed the thrilling conclusion of Sarah's journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and let us know you're loving this content. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What do you think will happen next, and what's your take on Sarah's choice? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how vital it is to keep our community alive through your engagement.